Welcome to NFL Talk. We've got quite the matchup coming up this weekend. The undefeated Kansas City Chiefs are getting ready to face their AFC West rivals.
The Denver Broncos.
At Arrowhead, no less.
Yeah, always an electrifying atmosphere over there.
Always.
The Chiefs are coming in at a perfect 8-0.
Yep.
And the Broncos are sitting at 5-4 after that.
Tough.
Yeah, that tough game against the Ravens.
It was a rough one.
It was. But, even though the records might look a little lopsided on paper, this rivalry, there's always a little more to it than meets the eye, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah, the Broncos have been in a lot of close games this year.
Yeah. 3
of their 4 losses, by a touchdown or less.
Oh, yeah.
So they've shown they can hang with the best.
Absolutely. What do you think it is about them that makes them such a tough opponent, even when their record might not reflect it?
Well, their defense is a huge part of it. Statistically, they're one of the best in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Second yards allowed per play. That kind of defense, that can make life difficult.
Right. Even for an offense like Kansas City.
Oh, absolutely. So what's your take on that? How have they been able to stay in so many of these games, even when, they're playing these top teams?
Well, they have a lot of grit, a lot of determination. They might not always come out on top, but they never back down from a challenge.
Right. And, speaking of not backing down from a challenge, let's talk about the Chiefs for a second. Their fourth quarter dominance has been almost legendary. 8 consecutive games, an NFL record. When trailing, at some point in the second half, they've won.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. What is the secret? What is the magic behind these comebacks?
It's a combination of things, I think. Andy Reid and his coaching staff, they really focus on that mental and physical toughness during training camp. They've got those grueling drills simulating late game situations.
Oh, yeah.
Long drives, fatigue, that kind of stuff.
Right, to really prepare them for those moments.
Exactly.
And then, of course, you have Patrick Mahomes. He seems to thrive under pressure.
Oh, yeah.
He's talked about how those drills prepare them, not just physically, but mentally, to execute when the game's on the line.
He's the definition of a clutch player.
Yeah.
I mean, he just elevates his game in those crucial moments.
Absolutely.
And that seems to inspire the whole team, don't you think?
It really does. It's like they have this belief that they can win no matter what, no matter how dire the situation looks.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, the Broncos have a young quarterback of their own who's trying to make a name for himself, Bo Nix. And this week, he's going up against arguably the best in the league, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about a challenge. What do you think? What do you think about this matchup? A rookie going up against the seasoned vet like Mahomes.
Trial by fire, for sure. I mean, the Chiefs have praised Nix's development, his decision-making. But going up against Mahomes at Arrowhead, that's a different beast altogether.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have to be at the top of his game to handle that pressure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this quarterback showdown? We've got Mahomes, the superstar, the arm talent, the improvisational skills, and then you've got Nix, the up-and-comer.
The rising star.
The rising star, yeah.
Right.
Who has shown those flashes of brilliance, making plays on the run, extending plays. It's a really interesting clash of styles.
It is.
What are you most looking forward to seeing in this matchup?
I think for me, it's going to be fascinating to see how Nix handles that Chiefs pass rush.
Yeah.
They're known for disrupting quarterbacks, forcing those turnovers. So can Nix stay composed? Can he make plays under that kind of pressure?
Yeah, he's going to have to.
It's a true test.
And speaking of making plays, another matchup I'm really excited to see is DeAndre Hopkins against that Broncos secondary, particularly Patrick Surtain.
Oh, yeah.
Hopkins is starting to find his groove in this Chiefs offense.
Right.
He's coming off a strong game against Tampa Bay. What kind of challenge does Surtain present for a receiver like Hopkins?
Well, Surtain is one of the best young cornerbacks in the league.
He's going to have his hands full trying to contain Hopkins.
Yeah.
It's going to be strength versus agility, experience versus, youthful exuberance, I guess you could say.
Right.
The outcome of that matchup. It could really impact how this game plays out, don't you think?
Absolutely. And let's not forget about the field conditions at Arrowhead. This is going to be the 3rd game played there in less than a week.
Oh, wow.
You had the Chiefs, that rain-soaked game against Tampa Bay, and then a college game between Kansas and Iowa State.
Right.
So how much of a factor do you think the field conditions will be?
Well, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. A less than ideal playing surface that can impact both teams, both their offensive and defensive strategies.
Right.
It might favor the team that's more adaptable, willing to grind it out in those tough conditions.
So how do you think the field conditions could play into this particular matchup?
It's tough to say. It's an interesting question. I mean, could it potentially benefit the Broncos?
Yeah. They have that strong running game. And their defense, it's built to stop the run.
Right.
So if the field is muddy, slippery, could that slow down the Chiefs' passing attack?
Right. It could make it harder for them to execute their game plan.
Exactly. So, it might level the playing field a little bit, give the Broncos a bit of an edge, maybe an unexpected one.
Right, because the Chiefs are used to playing on that fast track at Arrowhead.
Right.
And if it's slow.
If it's slowed down, could disrupt their rhythm.
Yeah.
Force them to make some adjustments.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how both teams adapt.
Oh, absolutely.
It just adds another layer of intrigue to this whole thing. So we've got a game with a lot of storylines. The undefeated Chiefs trying to keep that momentum going.
Yep.
The Broncos hungry for an upset. A clash of quarterbacking styles. And now the potential impact of the field conditions.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for much more, could you?
It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it's a recipe for a classic AFC West battle.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how it unfolds.
Me too. I'm on the edge of my seat already.
I can tell. You always get so animated when these big matchups come around.
Well, how can you not? I mean, this game has everything.
It does.
The high stakes, the rivalry, the clash of styles, and now the field conditions.
Right.
It's all adding up to what should be a very explosive and unpredictable game.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the perfect storm of football drama.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that football is more than just X's and O's. It's strategy, it's psychology, it's the ability to adapt to the unexpected.
And sometimes a little bit of luck.
Oh, you can't discount the role of luck.
You can't.
But the teams that are prepared, the teams that are resilient, they tend to make their own luck.
That's a great point. And the Chiefs, they've certainly been both dedicated and resilient this season.
Absolutely. They've set a high standard for themselves, and they'll be looking to continue that trend against the Broncos.
Yep, it's going to be a battle.
It is.
Can't wait to see who comes out on top. So we talked about the Broncos' defense being so tough. What makes them such a challenge for quarterbacks?
They've got a great mix of talent and a really good scheme. Their front seven can get to the quarterback consistently. That really messes with the timing of the passing game.
Right.
And their secondary, led by Patrick Surtain. They're fantastic at covering receivers and making it hard to find any open targets. They've been especially good at preventing those big plays.
That's definitely something that the Chiefs are going to have to watch out for. Mahomes is known for those highlight reel throws, but this Broncos D has been good at shutting that down.
Exactly.
Do you think the Chiefs are going to need to adjust their game plan a bit to account for that?
They'll have to be patient, methodical. You can't just try to outscore the Broncos. They force you to earn every yard.
Yeah.
We might see the Chiefs running the ball more than usual, trying to control the clock, keep that Broncos offense off the field.
It's interesting because the Chiefs haven't really needed to run the ball much this year. But this might be a game where they have to establish it early.
And it'll be interesting to see how the Broncos respond to that. They've been vulnerable to the run at times, so if the Chiefs can get that going, it could open things up later for Mahomes and the passing game.
So it sounds like this one could be a real chess match. Each team trying to take advantage of the other's weaknesses, trying to control the pace of the game.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. A battle of wits,
Yeah.
Adjustments back and forth. And in the end, it's going to come down to which team can adapt the best.
Which brings us to the mental aspect of this game, which I think is just as important as the physical stuff. The Chiefs have that swagger,
Yeah.
That confidence of a team that's used to winning. But the Broncos are still trying to find that consistency. How much of a factor do you think that mental edge plays in a game like this?
It's huge. The Chiefs have that aura right now. They believe they're going to win no matter what. That belief, that can be really powerful, especially in close games.
The Broncos, though, they've shown they're not afraid of the big moments. They've been in a lot of close games, shown they can handle the pressure, but they haven't always been able to get over the hump and close those games out. Do you think this could be the week they finally break through?
It's possible. They have the talent. They have the coaching. They can compete with anybody. And if they can stay mentally tough, avoid those mistakes that have hurt them in the past, they can absolutely pull off the upset.
So much of this game seems to hinge on the Broncos playing a clean game, minimizing mistakes, and then taking advantage of any opportunities the Chiefs give them. Do you think they can do that against a team as good as Kansas City?
They can. They have. We've seen flashes of it this season. And they've got Bo Nix, a young quarterback, hungry to prove himself. If they can play with confidence, stay disciplined, they can make this a real competitive game.
Speaking of Bo Nix, He's going up against Mahomes in that Chiefs defense.
Yeah.
Quite a challenge. What does he need to do to be successful in this environment?
He needs to protect the football. Be smart. You know, the Chiefs' defense, they feast on turnovers. Nix can't make those risky throws. He also needs to use his mobility to keep that pass rush honest. If he can buy some time, make plays outside the pocket, that could create some problems for the Chiefs.
Sounds like the key for Nix is to not try to do too much.
Right.
Stay within himself.
Let the game come to him.
Right.
Manage it. Make the smart decisions and take those opportunities when they're there.
And speaking of things that could affect the game, we've got to talk about those field conditions.
Right.
Third game at Arrowhead in less than a week. The field might not be in the best shape.
Yeah, it could be a big factor, especially if the weather's bad. A muddy field. That would favor the Broncos. You know, with their running game, their tough defense, it could neutralize that Chiefs' speed on offense.
So the field conditions, it could actually help the Broncos.
It's something to consider. The Chiefs are used to that fast track at Arrowhead. If it's slow, muddy, that messes with their rhythm. It's harder for their receivers to get open. That plays right into the hands of the Broncos secondary.
So the field itself is almost like another opponent for the Chiefs.
In a way, yeah. Just another example of how unpredictable this game could be. There's so many things that could happen.
You know, we talked about the strategic side of this game, how much of a chess match it could be, but I want to touch on another aspect of this matchup. The crowd at Arrowhead. One of the loudest, most passionate fan bases in the league.
Oh, for sure.
How much of an advantage do you think that gives the Chiefs?
Oh, it's definitely a factor, especially in a big game like this.
Yeah.
You know, it can be really intimidating for opposing teams.
Oh, yeah.
Especially young quarterbacks who haven't played in that kind of environment before.
Right.
That noise, it can make it tough to communicate, you know, hear the play calls. Creates a lot of unease for the visiting team.
Yeah.
It's like a 12th man on the field for the Chiefs.
I've heard stories about teams having to use silent counts because it's just so loud. It's amazing how the energy of the fans can really affect the game.
Absolutely.
You think the Broncos will be ready for that?
I mean, they've played at Arrowhead before, so they know what to expect.
Right.
But this is a rivalry game, and the stakes are high. So, you know, that intensity, it's going to be turned up a notch.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they handle it, for sure. It could definitely be a deciding factor in this game.
So we've covered a lot of ground. The Chiefs' dominance in the fourth quarter, that Broncos defense, the quarterbacks, the key players, the field conditions, even the crowd. As we wrap up our deep dive into this Chiefs-Broncos showdown, what's the one thing our listeners should be watching for on Sunday?
I think it's important to really appreciate the nuances of this game. Look beyond the obvious stuff. Pay attention to those battles in the trenches, the adjustments the coaches make, how mentally tough the players are, the little things that can shift the momentum, and most importantly, just enjoy the spectacle. It's a classic AFC West rivalry. This is what makes the NFL so great.
Well said. It's a reminder that football is more than just a game. It's a story playing out on the field.
It is.
With drama, strategy, and unexpected twists and turns.
Absolutely.
And this Chiefs-Broncos game, it should be a pretty exciting chapter in that story. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back next week to break it all down.
We'll be here.
Until then, enjoy the game, everyone.
May the best team win.
Goodbye, and see you in the next video.